Oh, I was gonna say you guys have seen that clip of the guy. It's like a college like Johnson, where it's like an empty gym. It might even be a high school. It's either high
Yeah.
school or lower level college. But the dude's pouring his soul into the PA announcements. It was like a clip within the last year.
At guard, 5'6", Lowell, Vermont.
No
We've got
fans.
Kyle of the Warner Brothers podcast. At forward,
There was literally like 5
we've got Timothy Gray, straight from Johnson's. Oh man,
dude poured his heart and his soul into it.
At guard, number 25. Welcome to the Warner Brothers podcast. My name is Keenan, of course, joined by my brother Kyle, of course, joined by friend of the show, football aficionado Timmy, of course. You'll catch Timmy, you'll catch Timmy coaching track. You'll catch Timmy. What do you like? What's your favorite thing track-wise? Are you a javelin guy? Shot put guy?
Shot put.
I was going to say shot. He's a shot put guy. You might catch Kyle
eating.
I don't know, listening to some LL Cool J on this time, coaching some youth basketball, showing youth how it's done, showing how Kyle used to be back in his day before his knee injury. How's everyone doing today?
I'm a long retired coach.
Doing good.
Thankfully, my knees are still intact.
Yep.
What was your first one there?
Fine knees.
What was your first intro for me?
You're gonna listen to LL Cool J?
Yeah, I don't think I've listened to LL in a little while, but he comes up from time to time.
I haven't listened to that. That's good. He comes up on your your playlist more than mine. Shout out to LL Cool J though, for the LL Cool J fans. But Warner Brothers podcast, we are back. Obviously, it's Thursday pod, so it's pick time. But we're not getting that quite yet. Kyle, did you want to touch on basketball? Obviously, the season started Tuesday. We had a big slate yesterday. We can touch basketball for a second, and then Timmy and I had some things to propose to you.
Yeah, it feels great. We've already had some load management already, which is unfortunate. Like Devin Booker's going to be out tonight for the Suns-Lakers game. But there's a feeling to the beginning of the NBA season that's like no other. I can't really speak to the MLB because I don't watch it at all anymore. Though I've watched some of the playoffs here and there, but that's whatever. But like the NFL, like when the NFL's back, it's like, all right, it's here. Like it's already got that NFL feeling week one. You know what I mean? Once week one happens, it already might as well be week 5 or 6. The NBA's got this like first day of school feeling to it. Like the players got fresh cuts. Some of them might like have put on muscle, some might have lost weight. Like it just got such a new, hopeful feeling. And then like, you know, we always have within the first 2 weeks, there's a surprise team, there's a depressing team. And, you know, we talk about overreaction in the NFL and not to overreact week 1. The NBA is the king of overreactions. And, you know, 2 weeks from now, we'll be talking MVP talk. We'll be talking disappointing teams, surprise teams. Maybe not necessarily us, but, you know, the basketball community at large. It just feels good. Like
Kyle, just to bolster your point real quick, his first take in ESPN, I think we're talking about already maybe like what the Lakers need to do with Anthony Davis. So like it's literally been
81 full games.
Anthony
left.
Davis, that's a whole conversation. Anthony Davis is a conversation in himself, but yeah, no, I just wanted to say it starts.
And there's weirdly, I don't know if you feel the same way, but game 1, night 1, it's almost got this like playoff game feel to it. Like there's just such a different energy on night 1 compared to, you know, any other of the early season games. And you know, you usually get that on the isolated like Bucks Sixers in January too, you know, depending. But again, you know, we've talked about it on here. Mm-hmm. The load management has kind of hampered that over the last couple of years. But I'm hopeful that this year Stars are going to be playing more. Zion looked good last night. Um, who else? Westbrook looked really good last night. He caught my eye. I don't know if you saw the Malik Monk.
Wemby was
Mm-hmm.
interesting, of course.
Clippers look good. The Clippers look motivated from what I saw. I mean, granted, they're playing the Blazers, but uh, I don't know. Like, I didn't get to key in on the games as much as I wanted. Wemby looked great, but I just love it. It's a good feeling. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the first 2 nights of the season so far. What's caught your eye?
I agree with the first day of school thing. It feels like every year, it feels like you're a freshman every year. Like when you go into high school for the first time and you just see a whole bunch of new like people, especially like Kyle and I and Timmy. We're going from small schools to going to a bigger school. It's like all these people, all like completely different. And it does feel like a playoff feel, which is why I was a little disappointed that they didn't play LeBron as much in the fourth quarter because they're going on a run, took him out with 8 minutes left. I felt like that was kind of the game there. But I wish they would have. Obviously, you want to load manage his minutes a little bit because he's the oldest player in the league, but I feel like 34 on opening night would have been fine. And then you play him 28 against the Pistons, 29 against the Pacers, things
Especially
like
after
that.
the rest he got,
But
the entire
so the
offseason.
little, yeah, yeah, he's got the entire offseason. It's not like he had a whole entire playoff run and then now it's but whatever. I was a little upset about that because I felt like they could have won that game possibly. Jokic was just too much for him. I did like the look of the Warriors. I actually didn't hate Chris Paul on that team. I think if you stagger his minutes, have him run the second unit, they still need a big. I would try for them to get Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, and I would rotate them 12 minutes apiece. I'm not even kidding. I think JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard both, if you have Dwight as a bigger body to just give Jokic just muscle him for 10 minutes, not that it's going to like affect Jokic because he's so good, but like it just gives a different feel. And then obviously with JaVale, I would have him kind of weak side with Draymond on Jokic just to kind of help block shots at the rim. But the Suns, I don't really have an opinion on them because they felt AAU. They just felt exactly as they're going to. Devin Booker, by the end of the season, though, might be the best player on that team. We'll see. Obviously, it was game one, but he looks good. And Kevin Durant, obviously, he just didn't have a great game. Not that Kevin Durant's a bad player by any means, but Devin Booker just looks like he's hungry.
Yeah, Booker looked.
And then I can get into tomorrow, but I'll let you
Yeah,
respond.
Booker looked like the best player on the floor in that game.
Yes,
I don't know what that says about the
mm-hmm.
Warriors. If what would help them would be Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. That's probably not a good spot to be in. I don't know if you've heard the news on Dwight Howard. You can search it on your own time. But I don't think he'll be getting a call from any NBA team anytime soon, given the situation he's in right now. Very interesting situation that Dwight Howard has found himself in. But, yeah, they definitely need help at bigs.
It's probably why he's not a Warrior
Could
now.
be. It very well could be.
To be honest. Because he tried out with the team and everything, so it's probably the reason why he's not a Warrior to this day.
Yeah, that's a whole. I mean, that's a wild story. Whatever Dwight Howard's got going on there, but yeah. I mean, look. I mean, it's we're going into night 3 tonight. We got 2 good games with the Bucks and Sixers, Suns and Lakers. Unfortunately, like we said, Booker's going to be out. Beal's going to be out. Beal must be actually injured if he's missing the first 2 games. So it'll be Durant versus everybody. I mean, you guys heard me on the NBA predictions saying I didn't really like the Nurkic pickup. That trade being, what you're substituting Ayton with. He looked decent. I mean, granted, again, it's night 1, but he didn't look terribly out of place. But I do think in the postseason that's going to be a switch nightmare for him when he gets switched onto a guard. But overall, fun first few nights for sure. I've had a couple good games already.
Absolutely. Luka looked great. I was gonna say Wemby looked freakish at times. His pull up like this that looked semi Durant-esque. That one play made me think to myself like, oh man, this guy's
an alien.
Like he literally like this guy, and I'm not even just trying to say he's like top 5 of all time potential. I'm not.
That's why I said he's the number. I mean, that's
career ahead of him, but like that's
exactly why I said he's probably the number 1 prospect, like him or LeBron, just based on each of their potentials coming out. And I just think Wemby has a slightly higher ceiling given what he is right now and what the hell he could be, which is absolutely scary. I just wanted to say, speaking of Luka,
Giannis with a jumper.
Giannis
possibly.
mixed with Gobert, mixed with Durant.
It's like Giannis and Durant put together
with a little Rudy Gobert. What the
That's
fuck?
what he
Like, what the
could be.
fuck do you do with that? Luka Doncic, aka Luka Jordan. I mean, I don't really have much expectations for their season. Like, I had them, I think, missing the playoffs, right? But I mean, he's Luka Jordan.
You did.
Like this league's too easy for him. He could average 36 a game, easy. Like, not even the James Harden with foul shots, 35 a game. Like, just 36, just out there hooping, getting buckets.
He put up a plain 33, 13,
he
and
is
10
too cool. And that shot he hit a shot over who was it? Vassell and Wemby at the end. That three, like, that's just ridiculous. Like, there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
We should really outlaw him from the league if it's that easy for him, honestly. But the last thing I want to say about the NBA, Keenan, I don't know if you saw like the City Edition jerseys that Nike came out with, but I would say about 95 to 98, maybe even 99% of them were fucking garbage. Like, they were mostly horrendous. It's almost like they did it on purpose. Like, they wanted the reactions because there's no reason. Like, Nike's probably the best sporting line, the most bought sporting line. They go hand in hand with the NBA.
Yeah.
And for them to put out, like, again, 95 to 99% of those jerseys were just garbage. It was unfortunate to see. And some of them just...
I'm looking at them again right now. The Nets are
the Nets looks like something like a child would like draw. Like, hey, this is the jersey I created. Cool. But Nike was like, no, we need that.
That's for all the dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's like the For All the Dogs album cover. There was a couple I like.
I don't mind
Milwaukee's. Yeah, Milwaukee's is okay. The Kings I like. Boston's, it's like a 5 out of 10. I've seen worse from them. The Lakers is atrocious.
Yeah.
Like, why mess with something that, like, just give them their classic font. They did like the Raptors type logo. There's a lot of bad there. The Warriors is bad.
The Warriors aren't terrible.
See, I hated the Warriors.
It's not the worst.
I hated the Warriors, but I like them a lot.
See, I guess I
like them a lot better than last year's. That looked like they had like a Photoshop on them, like a random just Photoshop fucking image. Mm-hmm. But they're, for the most part, all of them are bad.
Yeah, they're not great. I just think that compared to some of the other ones I've seen worse on here, but it's not by any means cool.
I do remember I like the Spurs. The Heats are atrocious. The Heat might be the worst. They just randomly say Heat culture. The Sixers are terrible too. The Sixers actually got very terrible ones too that just say the city of brotherly love.
The brotherly love.
And fucking they're just it's all bad.
Pretty sure the Hornets just say Buzz City on it.
It just says Buzz City.
Kind of cringy.
Yeah. Yeah, like anyone calls them Buzz City. Like, who the fuck calls them that?
Yeah.
At least somehow those are one of the better ones because they like was pretty generic. But some of these other ones literally look like.
I was gonna say they look fine. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. Did you have anything else about the NBA?
Not today. I'll have more Monday for sure, though.
You want to move on?
After we get a weekend of games in.
Okay. Same, because we'll have Dame's debut to talk about. So for sure. All right, so Timmy, I'm gonna let you go in first. So Kyle, we were talking before a little bit trade deadline wise. We were talking about maybe a couple teams that could get a trade and who they might target. Timmy and I were talking about that. So Timmy's gonna bring up a few, and then we're gonna get your reaction on what you think, good, bad, or maybe if you have a team as well. But the floor is yours.
So I have 2 trades. One of them that I think is going to happen, and I just don't know if the team is correct, but I'm pretty sure this player is going to be moved. And then the other one's just like most likely not going to happen. So the first of all, the Tennessee Titans are shipping house. They've already traded 3 players. They're getting ready to just completely scrap this team. I think Derrick Henry will be on the move, and I think he will be traded before the trade deadline. Let him go be on a contender, push them over the top, CMC style, like with the 49ers last year. I think one of the best situations is Derrick Henry to the Ravens, and the Ravens send a 3rd-round pick and Justice Hill. And I was just wondering, who do you think says no in that trade?
I don't think anybody says no because I think a third for Derrick Henry at this point in his career is probably the max you're going to get from him. You might sneak a second from somebody, which I don't assume.
Yeah, I
And
didn't think a
then
second was
I don't
honestly.
think a second.
I had it as a fourth, but then I was like, it's Derrick goddamn Henry. That
You
man can
might be able
still.
to sneak a third out of that, honestly. Like
Yeah,
you'll see. And then as for the Ravens, of course, like they
yeah,
need it anyways. And knock on wood, Derrick Henry is not a guy who really gets injured. So like he's a back that should be there for the long haul. And plus you have Gus Edwards who can spell him, and I think Derrick Henry there would be good.
Yeah, I would say that's the trade I saw the most on the internet yesterday was Derrick Henry either to the Ravens or to the Cowboys. Um, so, I mean, if that's true, I mean, we see it a lot every year during the NFL trade line, or sorry, before the NFL trade deadline, that there'll be a ton of star player names that are thrown around, and then oftentimes you might get one, oftentimes maybe just a role player. Um, so it's interesting because we didn't really hear Derrick Henry talked about much like in the offseason as far as trades, at least not to my memory. So for him to be on the trade block possibly, it's so hard to determine with Tennessee because Rabel always seems like he wants to win and is coaching them to win no matter what.
Yeah.
So but like Tim just said, the front office has shipped out 3 players, one of them being, an all-pro safety. So, it wouldn't be shocking at this point. Now it's like, what team would it be? And have they, has the agent, like if it's like anything like the NBA, has agents been talking to the other front offices? Like, is this really in motion? I'd be interested because they do have a winnable game on Sunday against the Falcons. Looks like they'll be starting both Will Levis and Malik Malik Willis. So it's very interesting to see what will happen, and the Broncos have been sellers. They probably will be moving out somebody. Seems like Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are always in rumors. So I don't know. I would love to see that, by the way. If Henry went to the Ravens, that would damn near push them over the top for me. And I think they're right there anyway, But as someone who had Eagles Bengals in the Super Bowl, you might get me to change it instantly to Eagles Ravens, unless Henry all of a sudden, just as soon as he's in the building, gets the Ravens curse and gets injured. But I hope that wouldn't happen. How old's Henry, by the way? He's like 29, must be 28.
30.
Which is like 45 in running back age, but I mean, he's
29, turning 30 in January.
So he's definitely still got some pop. Like, he's still fresh. I would love him in a Ravens uniform. Honestly, that would be great to me. I would love to see that. Send him to the Pats.
I was thinking of the Baltimore Ravens running the read option with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson would just potentially be the scariest thing that any football team has ever seen. So.
And here's the thing: you could run a wrinkle off of that, and that could be a pitch to Derrick Henry and a throw because he can throw. Yeah. So that could actually be a really interesting wrinkle to it. And you have Odell, who's a special guy who can throw too. So you could have they got Derrick Henry, that offense could become like that offense, if you gave Kyle Shanahan that offense or Mike McDaniel,
that's funny.
God,
that's funny you say that, Keenan, because I was literally just about to say, like, watch the Niners just go in and scoop Derrick Henry up and just add him to all the riches they have.
Just send
that would be the team to do it. Like the kind of from the same area too, but the Warriors do stuff like that where it's like, okay, they already have this. It's like, let's just add this just in case. I could see like Golden State doing something like that too to make a cross-sport parallel, or obviously like the Yankees or Red Sox or any of these high-end MLB teams because money doesn't matter to them. But all right, Timmy, what's your second one?
My second one, I don't think this is likely to happen, but at this point, this player, you guys actually already talked about him, but he's just not worth a whole lot in my mind. We haven't seen enough from him. It's Jerry Jeudy. The Broncos are shipping. They're going to ship players. It might not be – they've already cut like 2 players in the last couple of weeks. I think they're going to send some people, and I think Judy's one of them. Mm-hmm. And I think I have him going to none other than the New England Patriots for a 5th and a 6th round pick. Super late picks. Those are the only picks that Bill likes to send out are like 6th and 7th round swaps. So if he can do it and get a guy with potential like Jeudy, I think they might pull the trigger, get Mac a little bit more juice. Maybe another target is what they need because I don't even think
Mm-hmm.
any of the receivers. Kendrick Bourne's looked okay, but other than that, they don't have anybody that would even qualify as like a wide receiver 2 on any other team. And Judy is that. So
I wouldn't mind it.
I don't mind that trade. I don't
I
mind that
mean,
trade.
my opinion.
it's late enough picks where it's just not like too much to give up.
My opinion on Judy's kind of changed a little bit. I didn't really have an opinion on him prior, honestly, but then I've seen like him be extra soft towards like I think it was Mark Schlereth, who was a former Bronco, because he like gave constructive criticism to Jerry Judy, and then he like kind of popped off on Twitter, and then I think you guys probably saw Steve Smith on the Thursday night game against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. He
Mm-hmm.
was apologizing to Judy
Yep.
for being a little rough on him, and then Judy was popping off at him, and then that became a whole thing. So, I mean, if Pat's culture is still a thing, maybe that would change in the locker room, but he doesn't seem like the hardest working receiver. He seems
Mhm.
like a receiver that makes excuses. But, I mean, hey, what receiver isn't a diva? If you're a wide receiver, you got a little diva in you regardless. So, I wouldn't mind it. It would definitely bolster the talent, but would like to see him finish his routes and shit like that. But, hey, yeah, get us another wide receiver. Why not? Give us Derrick Henry, too.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so I've got two actual trades that I think could possibly happen. And then I've got 3 things that I just want to say out loud to say them out loud because it's kind of a hypothetical of people who could possibly like they could move off of him. Not like, hey, imagine Patrick Mahomes getting traded to like that. Yeah, as if they're going to
14
even
first-round picks and
Hey, can we
12
have
players.
Yes, can we have Caleb Williams and 6 firsts for Patrick? Like, yeah, like obviously I'd never say Pat or Burrow, like let's trade Burrow as if.
Yeah.
But so my first one, I don't exactly have what it would be. I could probably give you an estimate, but it'd either be I got 2 teams and 2 players that I think should go there. Chase Young or Brian Burns to the Dolphins or the Lions. I think both of them are unrestricted free agents coming up to this year, so I don't think there would be like a second or a first by it. I think you'd probably see maybe a fourth and a sixth kind of thing for it, maybe a third, seventh, like something along those lines for those guys because they're young pass rushers. I think the Lions, if they were able to get another young great pass rusher alongside of Aiden Hutchinson, I think that completely changes that defense. And then I think the Dolphins, if you do that, plus adding Jalen Ramsey here in a few weeks, I think that completely changes their defense as well. So that's something that I would go for if I'm those 2 teams.
Yeah, I mean, they say Chase Young is available, which is crazy to me because he's such an impact player. So, yeah, if any contending team could just add him to their roster, whether it's long term or even just as a rental for the second half of the year, yeah, absolutely. Especially for a 3rd-round pick, that's what they're saying. Yeah, do that in a heartbeat if you're the Dolphins or if you're the Lions. Those are perfect candidates for him too. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree. We just saw the Dolphins give up a first plus to get Bradley Chubb, and both those guys could be Bradley Chubb, so it would definitely be worth it in terms of giving up a 3rd rounder. Hell yeah, I think most teams would probably jump on that deal. It's better for the Panthers to do this deal because they got to get some capital. They have no draft picks in the first few rounds coming up. Like next year, they have no first or second round pick. I don't know what they're planning on doing, so it would be nice to get a piece for that. The thing with Burns, though, is they were offered 2 first-round picks for him last year or 2 years ago from the Rams, and they turned it down. That's
Smart.
crazy that they did that, first of all. But, like, if they're going to turn that down to then 1 year later accept, like, a 3rd-round pick, it would just look pretty bad on their end. But
yeah, I mean, I would look into it if I'm them because obviously you traded the house to move up to get Bryce Young when I think you probably could have gotten CJ Stroud where you were. But I mean, like, obviously, but Bryce Young, I don't want to make it sound like Bryce Young coming out wasn't looked at like he was really good. The only thing with him was that it was smaller. Because like it had nothing to do with the mobility, nothing to do with the throwing. Like everything about Bryce Young said future quarterback in the NFL. It's just a height, and he may need some time to adjust. But yeah, no, if he doesn't pan out and he's just like a mid-tier to mediocre quarterback, that looks terrible, especially when the Texans went up and got C.J. Stroud and then Will Anderson, who could become something. So
Another thing too, the Commanders have said basically Chase Young is available, but they're also saying Montez Sweat is also available. Their dilemma is they can't pay both those guys. They're on the same contract or they expire on the same year. So basically one of them is getting moved or let go, and then the other one's going to probably get extended. And I think what they're going to do is probably say Chase is probably a little bit better for our team, unless they're ready to rebuild and they're going to want to keep Chase. And then they're going to send Sweat out for a 5th-round pick. And he's definitely worth that. One of those guys is going to be on the move for sure. But yeah, I would do it if I'm both teams. Detroit, that would be pretty scary to have them lining up against Hutchinson across from him. And then obviously the Dolphins need a little bit of help on defense. So maybe get even better pass rush when they're there.
Yep. Kyle, did you have anything else, or I'm going to say another one here? Okay. So my other one was the Cowboys need to get a running back, and they need to get one of 3 people, and it's Derrick Henry, it's Najee Harris, or it's Ezekiel Elliott. I think bringing Zeke back, I think bringing Zeke back would be great. I think all the Cowboys fans would love it. I think the organization would be fine with it, and I think he would honestly be fine with it. So I think that would work out just well. Najee obviously would be the best of the 3 just because he's the youngest and you could kind of have him there. But obviously Derrick Henry for a short-term rental is the best because he's the best back out of the 3 now. But I think they need something because they need to solve whatever's going on in the red zone because they don't have anything going on.
They could, if they wanted to solve the red zone problems for tight end, go get Dwight Howard or JaVale McGee. That could help.
Speaking of, they could. I mean, LeBron loves the Cowboys. He's on a minute restriction. They might be able to sneak LeBron from LA. Throw him in a couple Sundays.
A cross-league trade.
That would be... If LeBron was just load managing and then he went to the NFL just for a goal line package, I'm not going to lie. If LeBron retired this year and wanted to just be a goal line fade guy, I would be totally for it.
Just run the tush push. Right. Just that's your only goal.
Cowboys send the Lakers $26 million for LeBron James.
I honestly think LeBron in that role could be great. He can still get up 36 inches. He's 6'8" and great hands. He could just go up from fade balls. I think
he says Jerry Jones offered him a contract during the lockout in 2012. He said he's got it framed in his house somewhere.
Man, that would have been wild. I hope he does. He won't. But for some reason, I just hope LeBron's like, hey, Jerry, give me 1 year. I will only play within the 5. I'm only playing within the 10 to 5. Because I'm not a person who can really get hit like that right now. But yeah, so I got those 2. And then I've got 3 that I think would help out teams a lot that would never happen. One of them, I think Saquon could be traded. I mean, I don't think he'd be more so, but I think Saquon could be traded. And seeing Saquon on the Cowboys would be electric. It would never happen. Obviously, cross division and in division trade, but Saquon, I think it'd be explosive if he was, but if he got traded, I think the Cowboys would be a great suitor for him. It just obviously would never happen. So I think that would be really interesting if they were to get something like that, get that kind of electricity in the backfield.
When I brought up the trade for Derrick Henry, I was actually thinking potentially Saquon could go to the Ravens as well. But I just
Saquon and the Ravens, yeah.
It would be good, but I just don't think the Ravens are willing to give up the capital because they're not going to get Saquon for a third like they would potentially Derrick Henry. So, but yeah, it would be great to see him at the Cowboys. He would definitely succeed there running behind that O-line, but that's not going to happen. No shot.
No, that or the Eagles behind that
Yeah.
O-line.
Oh my
Sign
god.
him up for 2,000 yards.
Listen, give him like Swift a second and then like a next year's fourth and just say here, and then we'll take Saquon off your hands. That would be crazy. So that was 1. 2, another disgruntled person a little bit that I could see leaving, but not obviously to this team, would be Devontae Adams going to the Chiefs. I think he wouldn't go to the Chiefs again in division, but I think that obviously Devontae playing with Aaron Rodgers 2.0 would be crazy. But I could see Devontae within not this like trade deadline, but maybe year in a year or so being moved for something, or at least rumblings of him being moved in the situation he's in now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that'd be a dynamic
that was
combo
that one.
for sure. Mahomes and Devontae, and then offense.
Him and Kelsey and
They definitely need wide receiver.
see, like obviously,
Sorry, they definitely need wide receiver help. I think that's the team I'm most interested in because we saw the Pats when they were in their hay. They would make a trade every deadline. Like even if it wasn't a like all the way impact player, it would be somebody to bolster weakness, like Aqib Talib back in the day, where they'd always get a pass rusher. Jamie Collins, yeah, they always have him on loan every other year. So
yeah,
if I'd be interested to see if they even get like an impact tight end, to run 2 tight end sets, or if they get another just guy. I mean, they got Tony last year, so I'll be interested if they try to add to their offense at all because it seems like they need it. Last week was definitely a bounce back, but I'm definitely interested in what they have to do in this trade deadline.
Even getting someone like Kendrick Bourne for them would help.
Yeah, a player like that,
like someone like that, I think would help out a lot. And another thing I just thought about too, real quick, while we're on the Devontae Adams, before I go to my last one, was that obviously if we believe Aaron Rodgers is coming back, Devontae to the Jets somehow. Compare with Garrett Wilson.
Can they afford that?
I don't know if they could. I think they could do the Rams tactic and just go, we're all in on one season.
Convert it to a signing bonus, whatever it is.
Listen, I think all in on one season. I think that would be crazy if that was able to be done. Like it could happen theoretically. It would just be like, hey, 2024 is our year, or we're not doing anything after that. But okay, and then the third one that I actually like a lot be Matt Stafford getting traded to the Falcons.
I almost brought up a Matt Stafford trade, but trading a QB in the middle of a season is such a nightmare for offensive coordinators and teams to learn a completely new playbook, develop chemistry with wide receivers and tight ends. It might not start clicking until week 16, and then it's just too late. So
I think in the off season, because they're going to be too good to get one of those picks. Yeah. What you could do is you could draft a QB later in the first, let him sit for a year. And if you were, or 2 years even, let him sit, and then Matt Stafford on that team. I think Matt Stafford, because he makes other receivers better for sure, as we've seen. Obviously, Puka, I don't think is as great with a lot of quarterbacks in the league. But and that's also a credit to Puka too for developing as he has. But Kyle Pitts, I think he gets the most out of Kyle Pitts. Drake London's a very good target. I think Bijan out of the backfield would be crazy for him. The line in Atlanta's good. I think he would turn Matt Collins into something interesting. I think that Matt Stafford on the Falcons actually could make them very interesting. That and another piece defensively could make them a very interesting team. But those are my 3 hypothetical fantasy trades that realistic people that could move.
Falcons could go get Matt Ryan too out of the broadcast booth, bring him back. He said he's unretired.
You know what? They could.
Matty Ice.
Listen, that
might as well get Tony Romo.
They would make Matt Ryan, I'm sure, would probably make better decisions than Desmond Ridder. I don't know if he could throw the ball better, but I think
Matt Ryan right now could throw the ball better than Desmond Ridder. Give Matt Ryan some time. Yeah, he'd take 40 sacks in the 10 weeks we have left in the season, but he could definitely, with time, he'd be all right.
Minimum.
Clean pocket, he's fine. The second he sees somebody, he wouldn't
be like Flacco on the Jets last year, or the last couple of years, really.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was all I had for that. I mean, we could go on an hour and a half of trade deadline stuff, but we got picks to get into. Kyle, did you want to preview?
Yeah,
our
we're gonna
picks
do
at
this
all?
fantasy draft style like we did in Week 7. We're gonna give Tim the first pick, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Uh, Throughout the slate of games, Tim, since he's got the first pick, he's gonna pick whatever he thinks the best or the most intriguing or whatever game he wants to talk about really first, and then Keen, you want second or third pick? Cool.
I'll take
So I'll get
third.
second, King gets a third, and
I'll
yeah,
take
we're
third.
just gonna break it down draft style, and we'll do our picks, give our scores and such, and yeah, it's just a more creative way to talk about the game. So Tim, without further ado, go ahead.
There's a lot of divisional games, so it's hard to really narrow down on what like the first overall pick should be. But I think one of the most intriguing games this weekend is definitely going to be the Chiefs versus the Broncos. So I'll start us off there.
That's an interesting one. I was not expecting
Yeah,
that. Kyle, what's the spread on that?
I don't think anybody was
The spread on
expecting
that, I'm gonna give you the spread, and I'm gonna give you a slight complaint. The spread is the Chiefs by 7.5. It's in Denver, and I'm pissed off about this game because we just saw it 2 weeks ago on Thursday night. Why the hell do they have the same divisional game within 2 weeks of each other? That's my complaint. I think there's one other game that we saw 2 weeks ago. I'd have to look again, but there's no need for that ever. But go ahead.
No, it's not.
I can't see any. Eagles Commanders
Right.
was a couple
That's
weeks
right.
ago.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
this happens every year. The Chiefs and the Broncos will have a bad game where one team either gets blown out or it's just like low scoring. But then the second game is just super intriguing. Last year, the Broncos beat the Chiefs, I'm pretty sure, late in the season.
No, they didn't.
It was a
close
thriller,
game, I
though,
believe.
right? It was like
No,
31-28 or something.
The Chiefs got up 27-0, and then the Broncos pulled it within a score, I think, and they had the ball.
Okay.
But yeah, because it was a very thrilling game because the Chiefs right now are actually on the longest winning streak beating a team, which is the Broncos, and it's 16.
You're right.
And that's and then the Patriots are right behind it with the Jets at 15. So those are the two longest streaks right now. So like when the Jets our Patriots beat the Jets early, it was 15-15, then it's 16, then it'll be like 17, then the Patriots will get to 16. They're one game behind right now, kind of how it
Go
alternates
Broncos
through the
then.
season. But
I'm actually taking the Broncos to win this game. It's in Denver. There's got to be an upset every week. It always happens, and this is the one. I've been picking these games to like what my mind thinks, and my mind is always like 11-6, so it's not going to be right. I got to pick an upset. It's this one right here in Denver. Russell Wilson has not looked like a bad quarterback. He might have looked bad in the Chiefs game that they just played, but he's actually good completion percentage. He's been throwing touchdowns, not a ton of picks. He had 3 in that game, but like that was minor, whatever. I have him 28-27 in a thriller. It's going to be a good game. Pencil it in right now.
I got to say to that, I leave a select few of games blank when I'm making my picks. Like I usually go through, try to pick all the scores, but the ones that confuse me, I leave blank. This is one of them. Again, 7.5 point underdog the Broncos are, but they're at home. And like you said, they always seem to have at least one good game against the Chiefs, 16-game losing streak notwithstanding. The Broncos haven't looked bad. They really haven't since the 70-point game. Like they've looked good enough. It's a divisional game. They're playing in altitude. I don't know what the weather's going to be. And the Chiefs, I've said they've looked shaky here and there, especially their receiving core. It's looked a lot better. They looked better in the Vikings game. I truly have no clue what to make of this game. As I'm talking right now, I'm trying to come up with a score. I don't have a fucking score. I really don't. You could convince me either way. I do think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a Chiefs blowout. But what was your score, Tim? Do you have a score?
Yep, I have 28-27.
I'm going to roll with Tim on this one. I'm going to go 28-24 Broncos. Break the streak.
I'm not. Okay, so yeah, I'm not. It's I hope that'd be cool if you were right. Fun fact, if he lose, you said 27-24.
28-24.
Make sure.
And then he's got 28-27.
28-24. Yeah, I did get that one. All right. So fun fact: Patrick Mahomes has never lost to an AFC West team on the road. I don't think that changes. 27-19 Chiefs. They're just better.
They are better. I can't disagree with you. At like every position, they are better. But
they haven't allowed 20. They haven't allowed a team to score 21 or more points this season. I think that their offense is going to start to click a little bit. I don't see how the Broncos.
I'll give you this. I'll give you two things here though. The Broncos defense is playing much better as of late. But the other thing we talked about, Judy and Sutton being in trade rumors. Maybe they know it's coming and they're trying to boost their trade stock and they have the game of their lives. Obviously, I'm trying to talk myself.
And they're just hucking.
Exactly. They're just go routes all over. But truly, I mean, I'm kind of joking when I say that, but I do see a world where the Broncos win this game, or they're at least in this game to the end. I do think it's going to be a closer game. I don't see a blowout here. I truly don't. We all have it within one score.
I would, if they either fired their coach or had a fire sale, I would be more with you. Because typically, for some weird reason, the game after a huge change happened, they play better. Don't know why. Like after Christian McCaffrey gets traded, the Panthers look better.
They went on a run last year. They won like 5 of the last 8
Dante
games.
Foreman's gonna look like Texas Dante Foreman with 2,000 yards. Okay, great. But so I have KC as the minority here. Kyle, you pick the next game.
I'm gonna zag here. It's personally intriguing to me. It's not a great game, but it's also not a bad game either. It's two home teams, really. It's Jets at Giants, technically. This is intriguing to me because what's the Jets' record right now? Are they 3-4? 3-3.
3-3.
The Giants have shown life these last couple of weeks. I'm not sure who's starting, whether it's Tyrod or whether it's Daniel Jones, but Tyrod Taylor's looked good in that offense.
It doesn't make a difference.
I think it's Tyrod.
I mean, it might. I mean, look, Zach Wilson is still Zach Wilson despite him looking better. The Giants are going to play this game like a playoff game. By the way, it's Jets favored by 3, technically on the road here. I did in fact pick the Jets to win though, 20-18, but I do think it's going to be close, and I do think you're going to get a great effort from the Giants. Would not be surprised at all to see the Giants win this game. But I'm rolling with the Jets.
Oh, Kyle, when I said not a difference, I meant like between Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor starting. Not that the Giants couldn't win. I just mean like there's not a I think that they're the same team they trot out.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that's more so what
I think the difference would be Tyrod's safer with the ball. I think Daniel Jones probably has a higher ceiling, but Taylor looks like he has command of this offense. Like in his 2 starts, they've looked pretty good. So it's almost like a low key controversy here, especially if he does go out and win this game. I mean, I think the Giants are going nowhere, but I mean, if you can go, because I believe, who do they have next week? The Giants. It's a tougher game. I know their schedule gets tough after this Commanders Jets stretch, but if they could come out with a win,
I think the Eagles.
The Raiders next week, then the Cowboys, Commanders, Patriots.
So I mean, if you're the Giants, they're going to try to be competitive. They're looking at that schedule as all winnable games then, especially before they get the Eagles and they get the Cowboys. So I expect a good effort. I expect a good game. Jets coming off a bye week too. So maybe we see some Zach Wilson rust. I don't know. But I think it's going to be maybe not a pretty game to watch, but I think it'll be a good game, close ending. So, yeah. You know what?
2018?
Yeah, let me flip it actually. I'm going to go Giants 2018. Just flipped it on you.
Okay.
He can just flip.
Two dogs in a row. Giants and Broncos back to back. There you go.
Oh, Timmy.
Sure.
You're good.
The Giants' O-line has been playing pretty solid since Tyrod Taylor has taken over, which is just really sad to see. Because if they would have just played this good 1 week earlier, Daniel Jones wouldn't have died, and then they would have just been fine, potentially. I'm taking the Jets. I think the Jets are just better. Tyrod Taylor's probably like even with Zach Wilson. He might not turn it over as much, but the ceiling's just still not there with Tyrod Taylor. I don't know. After they won last week, the Giants did. I saw a little notification from the NFL Network, and it said, "Did Tyrod Taylor just save the Giants' season?" No, because they aren't going anywhere. They would literally have to like win out to potentially make anything because they can't afford like 4 losses and they'd be done. It was just crazy. They need to lose this because then people will understand, yes, the season is over and they are not going to make anything. So I have the Jets winning. I think they're just a better team all around. Like Kyle said, it's technically an away game. We're still going to see 40% Jets fans at this away game. I have it 24-17. It'll be a good game. It'll probably be way lower scoring than that. Like I could see a 13-10 game. But I'm taking the Jets no matter what. The score doesn't really matter.
So I actually have it pretty close to you. I have it 24-15 Jets. I think Breece Hall just runs crazy. The Giants have been playing better defensively, and they have been playing more cohesive football offensively. So not that they couldn't win this game at all. I just think that Zach Wilson has turned himself over the last few weeks. I mean, he could revert to being what we know of Zach Wilson, but he's turned himself over into a just baseline game manager quarterback, which right now, with how the defense is playing and how potent their run game can be, that's all you need. Get Garrett Wilson the ball in space, let Breece run, and then move on, and then the defense do what they're doing. So I think they get 24-15. I think Tyrod probably makes 1 or 2 mistakes that costs them the game, but I think it's going to be a pretty interesting game.
Your pick.
All right. And I'm going to pick the game of the week, which is Cincinnati going to San Fran.
I couldn't say that this was the game of the week because
I could say this is the game of the
Brock
week.
Purdy probably won't be playing in it, which is a very big deal.
He might be still playing in it, but it's up in the air. Like he has a chance to be, but even so, I mean, I don't see a better game this week. Personally, to me, I think there's games that could be upsets, but this is a lot of a big upset week. But because there's a fact of Sam Darnold possibly starting this game with the Bengals coming off of a bye, I do have the Bengals winning this game 25-22. 25-22 is the score I'm going to go with. And if that actually does happen, people are going to be the not panic button, but like the panic button will be on the table for the 49ers losing 3 straight. So people are going to start worrying, like, is this team actually going to be okay? Obviously, I think they'll be fine, but I do think the Bengals in the must-win spot. They've done pretty well, and Joe Burrow off a bye has been pretty good as well.
Go ahead, Tim.
I think the 49ers win this game no matter what quarterback starts for them. I actually think Sam Darnold has a potential to be good in the Shanahan system, and that he just wasn't given a fair shot in New York or in Carolina. I think it's going to be close. It'll be a good game. The 49ers defense hasn't looked quite like that unstoppable or unmovable object like they have been recently, but it is at home, so that's a pretty big deal for them. And like you said, they're coming off a bye. The Bengals are, so they should be better. I don't know. We still haven't seen it. T. Higgins still isn't fully healthy. They don't have every piece. I could see a world where this first half just looks ugly for the Bengals because the 49ers are mad. They've just lost two in a row to 2 teams that they should have beaten. So I'm thinking that they're going to come out swinging. It's going to be a close game, though. I have it 20-24, but I think the first half is going to look like 17-3 or something like that.
This is actually one of my blank games because I had no idea what to make of it. It's 4.5.
Is it
4.5? The Niners are favored.
4.5. It's got bet
which
down.
Tells me to some degree that sounds like Purdy might play. I mean, I would think this would be a 3-point line in the Niners' favor. Anything higher than 3 is kind of crazy to be in this game.
It was 5.5.
That's interesting,
actually, which is kind of shocking. So because I think I bet it. I think I was looking to bet it at +5.5.
Was that pre-concussion protocol for Brock
That
Purdy?
was Tuesday evening. So possibly like
I
went
think
to the
so.
Brock Purdy concussion protocol. So it's been bet down. So people are probably thinking that Purdy might actually be missing.
Yeah, so Purdy
go on.
actually practiced today, so it looks like he's trending towards playing. Um, I'm gonna disagree on the Darnold thing.
Good.
The fact I have a weird thing with Darnold. I think he's all right. I'm disagreeing that he didn't get chances in New York and uh, Carolina. I think he got chances there, especially New York. Other than that, I weirdly like out of quarterbacks who have trash records and trash like touchdown to interception ratios, Darnold looks good. Like he looks competent. There was people all offseason talking about that Darnold could win the job outright. Uh, so if he plays, I agree with Tim. I think he is going to look good in this offense. The difference you have with him compared to Purdy, which I guess I can't really say this anymore after how Monday night ended, was Darnold's got the more backbreaking interception potential. We saw Purdy throw a couple picks Monday night. I do not see. I mean, I look at it like this. If Darnold does play, I think you're going to get the type of effort out of the Niners. You'd get great effort anyway, but I think it would be similar to the Browns game a couple weeks ago where they had PJ Walker going against them. And, you know, the Browns took that like a fucking playoff game. Like they threw everything they had at the Niners. But if it's Purdy playing in this game, I think I would just take the Niners outright. The Bengals have looked good top to bottom in maybe one game this season, that Cardinals game. So I like the Niners. Granted, Purdy did look a little more shaky, has looked a little more shaky the last couple of weeks, especially in that Vikings game. But I cannot see the Niners going down 3 in a row. Granted, off a bye, I think you're going to get a really sharp-looking Bengals team. I do think it's going to be close, but I'm going to roll with 24-23, the Niners. And you know what? And I would say trending the entire way, I think I would have picked the Bengals. But now that I see Purdy playing, I just really can't. It's hard to pick the Niners, pick against the Niners in this spot after 2 in a row, especially with the Seahawks on their heels. It's my pick again. Is that what you said? Oh, we're going snake style?
Yep.
Cool.
Well, no, I mean, it was you.
Word.
Oh, wait. Oh, no, sorry, Tim. You're good.
It was Keenan.
No, sorry.
Right?
Sorry, Tim. You're good. I don't know why mentally I thought Kyle started. No, Tim, it's your pick. Sorry.
Are we just doing one through three, no
Yeah,
snakes? Okay.
1 through 3. That's just rotated.
Good to know. Good to know. It's actually tough because all these games kind of suck. Not gonna lie.
That's why I told it's the game of the week.
I think there's some good ones in here, actually.
Yeah.
I think there's some interesting ones.
There are definitely some interesting low-scoring ones, and then there's ones where it's like a good team versus a not good team. I guess I'll just go Pats versus Fins. I think this is at Miami.
Yep.
Which is good. They kind of just got embarrassed. Sunday Night Football. I'm not going to say that the Pats are able to upset 2 weeks in a row. I don't think anybody's expecting that. So, obviously, I'm going Dolphins. I think the Pats' offense will look okay, good enough, but I think the Dolphins this is like a get-right game for them. So, I have it as 27-18. Kind of what you expect from both offenses. Higher scoring from the Dolphins, a medium performance from the Patriots. Yeah. Simple.
I just want to say here the Dolphins are favored by 9.5. The Pats look good. Pats put together their best effort top to bottom last week against the Bills in a very surprising effort. Mac Jones got the game-sealing touchdown with, I believe, 12 seconds left. And that was the third go-ahead touchdown in less than 30 seconds, like in the last 30 years for the Pats. Bledsoe did it once. Brady with the Ken Tompkins against the Saints, that famous one. And then this one. Weirdly, like Mac's been getting a ton of praise this week from opposing players. Aaron Rodgers came to his defense. Von Miller said it looked like the Patriots of old last week with them not committing turnovers or penalties. I'm not necessarily picking the Pats to win this game, but I do think it's going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to be a good game, especially if they limit the mistakes. If they're not causing penalties on themselves, especially on offense, I think this could come down to the wire, 3-point game. I expect it to go similar to the first game as far as mid-20s, high teens kind of thing. I think they'll limit Tyreek if he plays. Tua was almost talking about Tyreek yesterday, like he might be out a couple weeks, but it looked like Tyreek practiced today, so I'm not really sure what's going on there.
He
So
did. He'll be.
I'm
Probably
assuming he'll be playing. I'm also assuming Belichick will keep him in check. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. Excuse me. First game was 24-17, correct? When they played in week 2.
Something along
I'm gonna
those
go.
lines.
I'm gonna go
Something very much along
24-20.
those lines.
Dolphins. Would not be surprised to see the Pats win here. Truly. I'm not gonna go out and pick them, but hey, if the Pats look anything like they did last week, and they can keep Tyreek Hill in check, and they can keep the run game somewhat in check. I mean, obviously they're gonna kind of give the Dolphins, some running lanes like they did in the first game, but I think there's an avenue where the Pats could win this game, but I am picking the Dolphins 24-20. Can't get all the way there.
I have a 26-19 Dolphins. I think the Dolphins coming off of a loss on national television, they're going to try to have something to prove there. Patriots are coming off their best win in 2 years, probably best win in 2 years. It's better than that win game because the win game obviously was just like weird. So best win in a few years for sure. So they're going to be hyped up. But the team looked good. I don't think the team's great. We'll see if they can string together multiple games. This has been the aberration game of the season, so we'll see if this is just see what they're becoming or what they can become, or if it's just like we're playing up because it's our division rival Bills. I think they'll play the Dolphins tough, but I got the Dolphins 26-19. All right, Kyle.
You know what? I guess I'll go. The other one that could be game of the week potential would be Rams Cowboys. Cowboys are favored by 6.5, which I think is a little high. I actually have the Cowboys winning 28-23. Cowboys also coming off a bye here. So there is potential to where they could just like unload on the Rams, especially on defense. Stafford's not that mobile. So there is a world if they can get to Stafford, they can kind of almost run it up on them, especially if they can get some deep plays, some home run plays and not really worry about the red zone. This could get out of hand quickly. So actually, I kind of can see why it's 6.5, but I do think it'll trend towards a closer game. Stafford in that passing attack, we say it every week. They've looked good. That defense can play on occasion. You know what I mean? So it really depends on how Dak looks, really. I think the pass rush will be there. They're going to get stops on third down on occasion against Stafford this week for sure. So, if Dak can bring it, there's a world where they can win by a touchdown, win by 10 points, win by 13. But if Dak's, regular like he's been, this could be a closer game. I got it 28-23, but this one is a weird game to me. It truly is. I don't know. You could tell me it's going to be a blowout. You could tell me it's going to be a close game. It's in LA, but it might as well be a Cowboys home game because every game, and whether it's the Chargers or the Rams, the away team's always going to have the home field advantage, it seems like. But 28-23 Cowboys.
You, Tim?
When I wrote this down, I actually wrote this down as in Dallas. So that kind of changes things a little for me. I still think, though, coming off the bye, I think the Cowboys are going to be good. I think they can get to Stafford.
My fault.
He's going to make some bad decisions.
I was wrong. You were correct. I had it written down as Cowboys, but for some reason I was still thinking it was in LA, but it is in Dallas.
That re-solidifies my belief that the Cowboys will pretty much dominate this game. I want them to lose, of course, every single week, but I think the Rams are just not really an opponent for them. I think they're going to handle them. I have it 28-17. I have them covering that long. What would you say? 9
6.5.
points? 6 points. 6.5. I think they'll cover that.
Could definitely see it.
Yeah. So you said 20. What was your score? Sorry.
28-17.
2017. I have 25-21 Rams. I think they're going to throw a party all over. I think Puka and Cup are going to throw a party all over the Cowboys. They can't stop the pass. Obviously, it really comes down to, can Micah be a monster off on the line? Of course he can. But the Rams receivers can get open within 2.5 seconds, which is what you're going to need to do. You're going to have to get the ball out quick. And I could see Aaron Donald having one of those vintage, oh, Micah, you still think you're better than me? I'm still Aaron Donald kind of games. So I think the Rams pull the upset. I got a 25.
Two things I want to add to that.
I love it.
One, we talked about the trade deadline. I could absolutely see the Cowboys going to get a corner with
Jalen Johnson.
What the fuck's his name? Why can't I? Diggs. With Diggs out, I could absolutely see them going to get a corner. Secondly, you're absolutely right, Keenan. If this turns into a Stafford versus Dak game, you almost have to favor the Rams all day. Granted, like we said, there's still Micah on the Cowboys side, but there's also Aaron Donald on the Rams side who can get to him. I mean, obviously the Cowboys line's better, but yeah, if this all turns into Stafford has time and it's Stafford versus Dak and it's a shootout, you absolutely favor Stafford in that matchup for sure.
Yep.
Your pick though.
For sure. It is my pick. Jacksonville versus
that's
Pittsburgh,
a good game
in Pittsburgh. What's the line?
Jacksonville is favored by 2.5 on the road. That's a good game.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good game as well. TJ Watt was a game wrecker last week as he's been all season long. Wasn't more of a game wrecker than Myles Garrett was, but he was a game wrecker last week himself. Myles Garrett had himself. We'll talk about that when we go Seahawks Browns, which should be interesting too. But I'm leaning the Jags here, even though I want to go Pittsburgh. I really do. The Jags are on a 3-game winning streak right now. They have looked more competent. I do think the Steelers struggle against the run, and Travis Etienne will be able to get yardage. He's been playing very well, and then Christian Kirk's actually been his number one option right now. So I think it's going to be an interesting game, but I do have Jacksonville winning this game around 27-20. Late touchdown.
I have no idea how the Steelers are above 500 still. What is it? They're 4-2 right now, correct?
Yes.
I have no idea how that's happening.
Yes, somehow.
I'm picking the Steelers in this game 25-22. And my reasoning is really some of my reasons for the last 4 weeks with the Jags is their schedule. Coming off those London games into that Thursday night game, in between a divisional game with the Colts there, they won all those. They really do seem due. And the Steelers are kind of a hot team right now. Pittsburgh's a tough place to play. That place is going to be going crazy because this is kind of like a playoff game. It's definitely a measuring stick game for both teams, the Jags and the Steelers. I like them. The vibes seem good in Pittsburgh. Again, I have no idea how the fuck this team is above 500, but they are, and the vibes seem good, and that crowd's going to be going crazy, and the Jags really just seem due for a loss. So I got the Steelers in a close one, 25-22.
I do think this will be a pretty close game. Definitely one score game, no matter whatever team wins. Until the Steelers fire Matt Canada, I don't think I can pick them to win a football game. So I'm taking the Jags. I got it 26-20, pretty close to Keenan's score.
You notice they have Matt Canada.
Go
ahead. My fault.
I could totally see a world where the Steelers offense just doesn't work and they score like 6 points, like what happened against the Texans.
Yeah,
I just can't take them to win.
Yeah, I still don't think Pickett's that great. I mean, I don't think he's average. You know what I mean? I think he can make plays here and there. His accuracy comes and goes. But to your Matt Canada point, you notice like they have Matt Canada cam after like every score now. After what happened a couple of weeks ago with him not being happy, it's like they focus on it now.
They show him as much as they show Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
pretty much. But I like this game. That's one of my games of the week too. Now that we're talking about it. I think that's going to be probably the closest game on Sunday. Because Bengals, Niners, that can go either way. I mean, especially if Purdy's out, you could tell me that the Bengals might run it up on him a little bit, especially after a week off. I don't know. I think this is going to be a really good game, though, Jags Steelers. I really do.
Yeah. Tim?
I keep forgetting that it's my pick. An intriguing game to me is definitely the Texans versus the Panthers. We get to see the battle of top two picks. I think the Texans are going to dominate this game. I think there's a good chance the Panthers do not win a game the entire season. This low key could be one of the games that they do win, though. But I do like the Texans. I think they're just very. They're a very surprising team, and it's fun to watch them. It's fun to watch them win, and they've been doing it. So I have it 20-9.
No touchdown scored unless it's a touchdown and a safety. Keenan, what you got?
Hold on just a second. I said right down a score. 20-9. What's the line on it?
It is 3.5. Texans are favored.
I've got the Texans winning this game 23-16. I think that they're just better. I've liked this Texans team since the preseason. I thought they were going to be an interesting, frisky team, and they've even outdone my expectations for them. I thought it was going to be more defense than offense, but this offense has actually been pretty electric for what they have. They're someone too that they could mess around and get close to the playoffs, and there's someone who could maybe be active at this trade deadline they could be in line for like a Cortland Sutton type of player. They could be in line for maybe a Chase Young to pair with Will Anderson. So don't count out the Texans making a move out there just to see if they can kind of speed up the process, especially since CJ Stroud's come along quicker than they probably thought he could. But I've got Houston 23-16. They're just better. But I think Adam Thielen has a big day for me in fantasy, which is cool. I think you just throw to him.
Completely agree with everything you guys said with the Texans being better. With this being even a closer game, I think we got both teams coming off a bye here. This is going to be one of the more winnable games the Panthers have all season, aside from the divisional games, because the NFC South just always seems to be a shit show whenever they match up at any point in the season. I do have the Texans winning like y'all. I got it 24-23. I would not be surprised to see the Panthers outright win. I might have even had picked the Panthers had I not picked both the Broncos and the Giants, and I need to gain some ground on Keenan and our competition a little bit. So I'm going with a safe pick, but I do think it's going to be close. I got it 24-23. And yeah, who knows? If they can't win this game, like the only games I could see them winning is against the Falcons and against the Saints and maybe even the Bucks. Like just because again, the NFC South divisional games you can throw out the lines or anything with them because it's just a fucking madhouse when they show up. I.e., what was it, Panthers Falcons last year with the helmet game?
Yeah.
You never know what's gonna happen.
Yep. Yeah, PJ Walker, speaking of, threw a bomb to DJ Moore, and then DJ Moore took off his helmet and then got the 15-yard penalty. Yeah, but so Kyle, it is your pick.
We're gonna segue right to that, Keenan. There's two games I have my eye on, but you said PJ Walker. This was one of the games I had my eye on. It's Browns at Seahawks. If Deshaun was playing in this game, this would be my game of the week. I was looking forward to this game. It's going to be PJ Walker. The Seahawks are favored by 3.5 at home, and I think they win 23-14. I think that defense will show up for the Browns, but I don't think it'll be enough. I think the Seahawks all around got a little more talent, especially without Deshaun. That I thought we'd been over with the whole Deshaun shoulder thing, and then it popped up again last week. He seemed more than content to sit down. There's people in the Browns media, actually Brady Quinn, who's saying Deshaun's kind of pulling a Ben Simmons and that he's more than happy to just accept his money and just chill on the sideline. If that's the case, the Browns, I mean, we know they're a shit show, but if that's the case and that's what they're going to be dealing with the next 2 seasons and on, that's an absolute shit show. I don't have any reason to, but I'm going to give Deshaun the benefit of the doubt there. But who the fuck knows? That's the most intriguing story, like the rest of the way to me, outside of the trade deadline and what could happen on Tuesday, is what the Browns QB situation is going to look like the rest of the year. But I do think that defense is going to hold up a little bit, like I said, but ultimately Seahawks just kind of pull away, win by 9.
Okay. Tim.
It's pretty surprising how close our scores are. I actually have the Seahawks winning 24-14. Um, and I completely agree. That I do have a question: is Deshaun listed out as a concussion or as his shoulder?
It's a good question. I'll look right now.
Because I'm pretty sure he left that game early because he definitely smacked his head against the field really hard. If that's the case and his shoulder is okay, I'm feeling a little bit better about him going forward at least. It's just a weird situation that they put him in. They definitely said he was medically cleared to play and that it was his choice not to play. But he was saying that he has pain throwing a football.
Listed as a shoulder,
and
by the
if
way.
you have pain throwing a football, okay. If you have pain throwing the football, you're not medically cleared to play. Like you are still exhibiting an injury. So that's definitely a weird situation to put him in. But if that is the case and he's just sitting out because it's all guaranteed money and there's nothing they can do about it, by all means, the Browns deserve it. They went out and made that trade, signed that contract. It's just really sad to see the Browns having this historical minus last week of a defense to just not have an offense to go with it. It is
they
really
lost
sad.
their best offensive player, and then what was supposed to be their best offensive player has been their most offensive player.
And then the week after he went down, after Chubb went down, Deshaun had his best game. And then ever since then, it's been this shoulder controversy. And then whatever the hell last week was.
Yeah. So Tim, what's your? You said you have 24-14.
Yep, I have the Seahawks winning. I think what'll happen is they'll get ahead to a lead. It'll be 21-14. They'll just kick a field goal at the end to ice it. So I don't think it'll necessarily be a 10-point game the whole time. Probably just one score, pretty close. But at the end, they'll just pull away.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give him credit. Jake Trotter had written for ESPN. I'm reading this right now. I guess Deshaun said, "Right now, we're not in a space where I should be out there. Trying to get to a percentage where I can go out there and be very, very beneficial for the team." He said he doesn't know when he'll be able to play as he continues to rehabilitate his injured throwing shoulder. What? Just what? Just what? Okay, this has been what? Anyways, yeah, I got the Seahawks 20-15. All of my body wants to pick Cleveland, but I have no faith in their offense. If they had a semblance, if they had Taylor Heineke at quarterback, I think I might go with the Browns this week.
By the way, I want to give PJ Walker props. I think he's been playing decently well given the situation he's thrown in. I just don't think at Seattle, if this was maybe in Minnesota, I might roll with the Browns. But Seahawks, that's an incredibly tough place to play.
See, the thing about PJ Walker is he's been playing to the best of his ability. His ability is just not great. So he's right so far in the season, it's 50% completion percentage, 370 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 picks, 48 quarterback rating. The stats don't look as bad. He didn't play the worst game I've ever seen or anything like that. It's just that his ceiling isn't great, so but he's been playing to the max of his ability. But 20-15 Seahawks, I don't need to spend more time on it.
Your pick.
It is my pick, and we are going to go with my beloved Atlanta Falcons playing the Tennessee Titans. Oh, man, what's the line on
Falcons
this?
are favored by 2.5 in Tennessee. Tennessee.
By 2.5. It always makes me laugh of how I just switched on the Falcons in just a year, and then I was the worst quarterback. It's probably. I do love myself, Bijan. Anyways, the Titans are in fire sale mode. I don't think they're going. Vrabel's going to have this team as prepared as possible for a team that doesn't, a general manager who's getting rid of pieces, but Vrabel's going to coach them up. So it's not going to be a blowout by any means. I also don't think, again, Atlanta has the ability to blow out anybody. So hopefully Bijan's not out with his mysterious illness again and gives me 1 carry for nothing, for 3 yards. Let's hope that doesn't happen again and he actually plays. that happens, I think Atlanta wins this game around the 22-16 range.
I have Atlanta winning 24-22. It's funny you say that about you don't think the Falcons are capable of blowing a team out. I think Arthur Smith has literally said like they're designed to win one-score games. Like that's what their offensive game plan is. That's how they approach everything. So, I mean, which is right in line with my score,
They don't have the
24-22. Vrabel has a weird way of coaching these games with these backup quarterbacks to a competitive game.
Absolutely.
If this was Tannehill,
Absolutely.
regardless of the fire sale that's going on in Tennessee, I'd probably pick the Titans outright just because Ritter is the shakiest of shaky. He had 2 fumbles on the one last week. He had 3 fumbles, followed up his 3-pick performance with 3 fumbles and 2 of them being on the one. That's unreal.
As much as I love to bet against the Broncos, you love to bet against Desmond Ritter.
On the road, you can
to bet against the Broncos.
Hey, on the road, you can. There's value against Ritter. I mean, he might win some, but I mean, at least the Broncos here. I mean, look, each of them are competitive. The Broncos are shaky, but they're also competitive too. But the Falcons, they're the better team in this position. But I mean, I would not be shocked at all if we're in here Monday evening talking about the Titans coming away with a close victory at 24-22 or something like that. So this is a toss-up game for me, even given the quarterbacks. Possible. If this was Tannehill, though, I'd absolutely take Tennessee. But Falcons 24-22.
I completely agree with what you just said at the end there. Monday, we could literally be saying either team win this game. Both these teams are pretty sad. It's just hard to like really pick one to say that they're better. The Titans actually looked like they could hang with the Ravens for a minute when they played them in London. But I do believe the Titans don't have much morale left in their team as they've just traded away a few pieces, and it looks like they've literally told reporters that everybody is for sale. Like there aren't any untouchable pieces on this team. I think the Falcons do get the win. It is such a tough. Just because the Titans at home, maybe they coach them up. I don't know. It's just so difficult.
You just gave the sigh of someone who's just so disappointed.
I am because I'm gonna pick the Falcons and they're gonna lose 21-3. It's just gonna happen. Arthur Smith is designed to win one-score games, so as soon as the other team goes up by 2 scores, it's over. The game is done. They can't compete. But I have
the score you have?
I have it 17-10 Falcons. I think it'll be such a boring game.
Hey, don't. Hey,
I was gonna say I'm not saying Taylor Heineke's fucking Joe Montana or anything, but literally, like if they just started Heineke, their offensive ceiling goes up just that much. Like he would at least be able to hit receivers. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that opens up everything for
defense. Their floor is the same.
Yeah, their floor is the same.
They have the ability to win a double digit.
Yeah, like they could win by 10 and not be shocked.
They could win 27-17. If they won 27-17, Bijan went for $150 and 3 tubs. That's how they did. Like if Bijan or Tyler Algier, like the running game went for 210 and 3 touchdowns. That's how they're and the defense got it done. But let it be known, the Falcons will be 5-3 after this win if they do pull it out. And I mean, the Saints possibly could lose to Indy. We haven't gotten there yet. The Bucks to Buffalo. Could have a 2-game lead in the division.
Somehow.
But anyways, Tim, speaking of,
I think there's a couple of interesting games left, but I actually think tonight's game is actually going to be one of the more interesting ones. I think this is a bounce back game for the Bills. I just cannot see them losing. They just haven't looked like that playoff team, especially in these last 2 weeks. So they need a game
This is what you and I were afraid of when we were talking about it. They just have these things where they can just go. But again, like tonight, which the game starts in about 3 minutes, we could get off of this podcast and they could be up 21-3, and I'd be like,
exactly.
Okay, it's only the second quarter. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I could totally see that happening. The Bucs defense is actually pretty good. I believe they're the 11th ranked defense. And the Bills defense hasn't looked as good recently without their pieces. I'm just worried about the Bucs offense. They're middle of the pack in passing, and they're 31st best rushing offense. Um, it's just hard for me to ever pick the Bucks when they can't run the football, and Baker Mayfield is also your quarterback. It was easy to pick the Browns with Baker Mayfield because they could run the ball really well, but this is just the opposite. But I have the Bucks or the Bills winning, bounce back game, 27-17. I think this is a get right game for the Bills. They need it. They need to get back into the contenders bracket because right now they're not in any sort of Super Bowl bubble, playoff bubble, even playoff win bubble.
Keenan, what you got?
Yeah. I've got this game 28-20. I agree with Timmy on pretty much every front. I don't. If Buffalo loses this game, they might be in my preseason thoughts of they could miss the playoffs, especially with how the. You guys have Pittsburgh. Kyle, you have Pittsburgh winning. That'd put them at 5 wins. They're definitely looking like they're. But there's a lot of teams in the AFC that could sneak into those wild card spots. So you've got to win every game when you can, and this is definitely a game that they should win. So 28-20, Buffalo.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. These Thursday night games are weird to begin with, but then like these last two, we had a AFC South versus NFC South, and then this one's NFC South versus AFC East. Very weird game in general, especially if you're the Buccaneers on a Thursday night going to Buffalo. Buffalo's a tough place to play. I got 28-23. I got it closer. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more. I'm going to go 28-17 Bills. I'm going to switch that. Take some points away from the Buccaneers. They've kind of come back to earth ever since those first few weeks. Baker's kind of regressed. But
what did you say the spread was?
8.5. Let me see. My eyes are terrible. 9.5 actually. Bills are favored, which I think that's high, even though Bills, I have them covering technically. But
the Bills have failed to cover in 2 weeks, 3 weeks even, right? Because they lost to the Jags.
Yeah, they haven't covered since the Dolphins.
Yeah.
My pick.
Jeez. Yep.
So I'm gonna go. The game I was gonna pick last time is still on the board. So I'm gonna go with Vikings at the Packers. The Vikings are favored by 1.5 on the road. I want to give Kirk Cousins props because he played a sublime game against the Niners. That's some of the best football I've ever seen him play. I had said a couple weeks ago, I believe it was the three of us, I said I could absolutely see a world where the Vikings turn it around and get their shit together. And it looks that way. That was an outstanding win for them at home versus the Niners, causing Purdy. Their defense looked decent. They kept them in that game. Cousins was incredible on every third down. He made every throw they needed to make. The Packers, while I do like Jordan Love, I do think they've just been entirely too inconsistent. So, they're all over the place. So I could see a world where the Vikings win by 10. I really could. I almost like the Packers better. I said this about Mac Jones prior, like a few weeks ago, how I like Mac Jones and the no-huddle offense. I like Jordan Love in the no-huddle way more than I like him just in the set offense. Like he seems to do a lot better when it's like schoolyard football rather than just, calling your plays and being an actual quarterback. You know what I mean? But I got the Vikings.
He was behind Aaron Rodgers for a while.
I got the Vikings over the Packers 27-21. And they'd have Justin Jefferson coming back in 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm actually hoping that they win this game because the more they win, the more likely Justin Jefferson tries to find his way back. So I have him in a league.
He'll for sure be back.
I know there was just reports that like if they were going to keep like on their losing, that there's a chance that he might almost like elongate like his injury, like make sure he's 100% kind of thing, kind of like what people presumed Lamar did last year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I agree. I'm just gonna since I was just stumbling over words, I'm going to quickly just say I actually have Green Bay 26-24. I think now that they have Aaron Jones back and he's gotten a game under his belt that we're going to see some of the best of Aaron Jones. I do think the Packers can be ran on, so sleeper alert, Cam Akers I think could be interesting. He had 10 carries last week. I think he could be up to like the 12 to 15 this week and take some from Madison. But I got 26-24 Packers.
I'm also siding with the Packers. Just at home in Lambeau, I like them, um, and I totally agree. Aaron Jones. Once you unleash Aaron Jones, he's going to put up those 3 touchdown, 150 all-purpose yard games. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if that's the case, they're winning. I got it 21-16. Um, and then just to touch on that Justin Jefferson take, he should come back. If they win this game, he should come back. If they lose this
Absolutely.
game and they keep losing, there's no guarantee that he's just back in 2 weeks when he's designated from return. He could still be dealing with, soreness or tightness, whatever it is. He should stay out until he is 100%. He should Lamar Jackson this either way because I just don't see this team going anywhere into the playoffs. Um, so I think that's what he should do. And I don't think they're going to be in a situation where when he returns to where they're like, yeah, we really think we can run the table. But
What are they at right now? 3-4.
I think so. I had the NFL standings pulled up. Yes, they are. They're 3-4 right now. I think technically they're tied. I think they were like the 8th seed they're tied for because it'd be Eagles, 49ers, Lions, Falcons, then it'd be Cowboys, Seahawks, and then the Buccaneers technically because they're 3-3, but they're tied with the Saints and the Rams and the Commanders actually at 3-4. So
Yeah,
they're in the hunt.
I could absolutely
tied for
see a
that
world
8th
where
seed
they're
right now.
getting that last wild card spot, especially when you factor in the NFC South. That could be won at like 8 games. I don't know. Their offense is definitely in position to do it, and their defense seems to be coming along. Flores seems to have that defense playing well, playing with energy. Um, Again, they got off to a rough start, but I mean, similar to last year where they were winning all these one-score games, there's a world where they're like 5-1 right now. 6-1. So, but yeah.
Yeah, my pick of a game. I'm gonna try to get through these. Vegas at Detroit. Detroit got ran over, mollywops, drug in the mud, beat, an old fashioned whooping, whatever you want to say. Detroit got all of that and then some. Last week, I thought it was definitely a game that could be good for them or could be revealing. It depends on how you bounce back from it. Could be one of those like they're kind of flying a little high, thinking they're better than maybe it humbles them out. I still think they're very live for the 1 seed just because of their light schedule, and I think it starts here. I got them 27-19. I think I haven't had a game of that. I have a 27-19.
I've got a similar
like
score. I have 27-17 Lions. We've used this phrase here. It's a get right game for them. The Raiders are like the definition of average, even given their talent. Garoppolo should be starting, by the sounds of it. Just for the sake of conversation, I'm not sure how I feel about the Lions 1 seed potential, especially with how the Eagles looked against Miami. Granted, the Eagles have a very shaky schedule, so I see your point. Eagles got a tougher schedule than the Lions do the rest of the way, for sure.
That's what it comes down to. Like if the Eagles had the Lions schedule, I think they maybe run the
True.
So like that kind of
True.
that kind of thing. I just think the Lions schedule is so light, and I think the Eagles could go over this next stretch of like 8 games. They could go even 3-5. They're not. I don't think they will, but they could go 3-5 and still be super live for the playoffs and live for the division lead. So I just think that it's not as pressing for them. But obviously, getting every game in Philly is something that they would love to. Get Meek Mill coming on the PJ before every game would be nice for them.
And I mean, we talked with crap. We talked about last game with the Vikings and stuff. Like I'm really looking forward to these Vikings Lions matchups down the stretch. I think those are going to be shootouts. Both are going to be dome games. So I mean, I could see absolutely both of those games being high 20s, mid 30s type of games, maybe even into the 40s. So I'm very much looking forward to Vikings Lions for sure. Tim, what you got?
Yep.
I think the Lions at home, I think Dan Campbell is going to light a fire under this team's ass after what happened last week. I think they're going to just dominate this game. So I'm leaning a little even further on the score with this one. I got Lions 29, Raiders 13. I think they're just going to destroy them. I think the Raiders are, at this point, I don't even think you can say they're the definition of average because they just lost to the Bears. I think they're the definition of below average. And I think there's actually a pretty good chance that McDaniels, or is that his name? Yeah, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels
is fired after this loss. I can see it.
Even before your boy Staley?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to fire Staley.
We're gonna get
Staley's
to that
begging
game
to be
here
fired.
real soon.
I mean, he's always begging to be fired, but he's extra begging to be fired lately. He's gonna please fire.
We're getting to that game real soon. We're gonna speed. We may speed through these last ones, but go on. These games don't care.
But yeah, I just got it. 29-13. Lions dominate at home. Give the fans something to see.
Whose pick is it?
All right, Tim,
I believe it's mine. I think the most interesting game left is the Eagles at Commanders, just because the Commanders always be giving them fits. I don't think they give them a fit this time. I think the Eagles will take control of this game late. I got it 31-20.
38-20 or 31-20?
31. Damn, I don't know if I can pick a team to score 38. It happens, but I'm not.
You got the line in the Raiders-Lions game, didn't you? It was 7.5. Lions favored.
7.5. Then what's this one?
This one is 7 for the Eagles.
All right. I'm going to quickly just go here. Philly 28-14. I don't think it's particularly close once the second half comes along. I think Washington plays them tough early, late in the game. Just becomes Philly's just too powerful.
I'm kind of with both of you here. I have the Eagles winning by 7, 30-23, but I think they're in control and the Commanders kind of backdoor it. These have been traditionally over the last 2 years and 2 weeks ago, apparently, high-scoring games, close games. Eagles really seem to be coming into their own right now. But the Commanders, obviously, they're in that wild card spot. These games are always kind of tough, but I think the Eagles will be in control. It will be a little higher scoring, but one-score game at the end, but really not really a one-score game the entire way through. But I could see some weirdness happening. Would not be surprised here, not a hedge here, but would not be surprised if we come in here on Monday. Oh, shit, the Commanders won at home. Got a weird win.
Jalen Ramsey's back on Sunday, by the way.
Damn.
That's big.
Yep, I just got an update on it. Yeah, so very, very interesting there. Yeah, that's a little scary. But, yeah.
Oh, shit, my pick.
It is.
All right, so we got Saints Colts. That's trash. We got Bears Chargers. That's a shit show. And we got Ravens Cardinals. I'm gonna go with the Ravens Cardinals. I think this is absolutely a trap game for the Ravens. We've seen the Cardinals in this spot shine. The Ravens are favored by 9.5 on the road. I actually have them winning by 9, so that would mean they do not cover. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. I would not be surprised if we come in on here on Monday and the Cardinals won. But I love Harbaugh as a coach. I don't think he's going to go that route. I don't think they lose. But you know what? I'm going to switch the score. I'm going to go 27-23. I think it's going to be closer. I think they're going to put the fear of God in the Ravens, but I think the Ravens pull away. But yeah, the Cardinals continuously in the spot have tried to play spoiler or have gotten up big in the spot and have just given these contending teams a run for their money. And I continue to see that trend, or I will see that trend continue on Sunday with this matchup. Because the Ravens got some good matchups ahead of them, I believe. I think they got Bengals and Browns back-to-back after this. Or maybe Steelers-Browns, something like that.
I think
they've got
something.
So this is the definition of a trap game. But yeah, got the Ravens pulling it out.
Timmy, you go next.
I think the Ravens, even if this is a trap game, I still think they get it done. I do have them covering the 9.5. I got it 31-17. I think this is just similar to like a Bengals-Cardinals game that just happened. Very similar game where it's pretty one-sided. Yeah.
So I've actually got the Cardinals 24-21.
He went with it.
Here's the thing. A few reasons why. One, Ravens play up to their competition. Beat the Chiefs in the past. Obviously, they just played the Lions. They've won. Every time they play the Bengals, they play a tough game. We throw the Steelers games away because those are literally in a different entity, different stratosphere. They're just different NFL games. But they also played down to their competition. They lost to the Colts. They had no business losing to the Colts that week. We've seen it in the past. Even in that Steelers game, like late in games, they haven't been the greatest with execution. Lamar has made mistakes. And I think this game's going to be close, and I could see Lamar making a mistake. And another thing is the hot team of last week has lost about every week the next week.
And usually to the Cardinals.
And it has been to the Cardinals. Like, obviously, Dallas coming off their big win. They lost to the Cardinals. The 49ers coming off their big win. They lost. The Dolphins coming off of their, obviously, 70-point game. They got blown out by the Bills. It's been every single week you've had the hot team. Even the Lions coming off their win after the Chiefs week 1. They lost to the Seahawks, even though it wasn't a terrible game for them. They just lost. But I see the Ravens losing 24-21 to Arizona. I am calling it.
We shall see.
Got to pick your upsets. I like it.
And then now it's my game. Ooh, what is the Chargers line? What's the Chargers line?
By 8.5.
Chargers by 8.5. I want to say I'm sorry to Tyson Badgett. Half of what I said was correct. The Raiders were going to get 12 and not look great. The other half, Tyson Badgett looked pretty competent. He looked pretty solid. Dante Foreman ran well too. Like, that was actually a fine game from him. And he's playing a defense that lets up a bunch of yards. They make bad quarterbacks look competent quarterbacks look good, and good quarterbacks look like superstars. So I am actually going with Chicago here, 23-21, and Brandon Staley is no longer coaching.
If they lose that game, it's got to be over for him. You would think. I actually have the Chargers. I have the Chargers winning by 7, 28-21. Badgett did look good.
That is
Badgett, I mean, shit. If Badgett looks good this game, you might have a low-key quarterback controversy in Chicago because he kind of looked the part. The Bears played with energy.
Here's the thing: if Fields like has like an ailment or something, like, I mean, you have to remember Fields' last moments in your head are good moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your last moments of him have been like, wow, he looked like an NFL starting quarterback, like a guy you can maybe build like a team around if you get the perfect team. Could trade him, start Tyson, get bad picks, go get your quarterback because you have the Panthers pick, and then go get starving Marvin Harrison Jr. and have fun. But yeah, sorry, go on, Tim. Or
yeah, no, I just wanted to add, like, Staley, this will without a doubt be his last season. This is whether or not they make it to the playoffs, whether he makes it through the season or not, because he's going to try his hardest to lose. The defense does not play up to snuff at all. Herbert does not play up to snuff at all. Like, for as much flack as Staley takes, deservedly so, I didn't think Herbert was great against the Chiefs at all. I think I said this on Monday when we recorded. He was pretty disappointing against the Chiefs, actually, throwing a pick in the red zone.
Yeah, second half he was...
Yeah, no, I mean, like, he's got all the talent in the world, but at some point, I mean, we've said it with Mac Jones, like, at some point we got to see it, and we did last week with Mac at least see it. Herbert just seems like, anytime he's in that spot where it's, it's a tie game or it's a one-score game, he either does the bare minimum and gets a field goal to tie the game to put it into overtime, but it rarely seems like he gets them all the way over the top and gets the touchdown, or, it just, I don't know. For all his talent, he doesn't seem to connect on those spots like a Mahomes, like a Burrow, even like a Tua. So that's something for me to watch the rest of the season, is how he navigates in these one-score games. Because, man, I mean, like I said last week, I would like to see him ad-lib. He's athletic enough. Get out of the pocket. Do something. We say that with Dak all the time. He just seems to stick to the script entirely too much for me.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that at all.
do not think I could live with myself if the Bears win this football game. My fantasy team would be in complete shambles because they would have to just keep playing Badgett. He's just playing okay. And if he does anything to win this game, that would just not be favorable. So I'm going to take the Chargers. Kyle, did you take the Chargers? Did you already say your pick?
28-21.
Okay.
Yeah, 28-21.
I think with these last two games, I think Kyle makes up some ground on Keenan. I like Keenan's upsets, but 2 in a row. I think this is crazy. I got it 26-17. I think the Chargers offense is good enough.
I just want to say this. 49ers and Eagles lost in the same week.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just want to say
not to the Bears, though.
No,
they
didn't lose.
But they also didn't face Tyson Badgett.
But they're not the Chargers.
That's fair.
They aren't
if they would have faced Tyson Badgett, it might have been DOA anyway. Who knows?
Hey, Tyson.
I mean, Tyson Badger. He is angry Badger. What do you mean?
When playing a full game, he is undefeated, never lost. So
he's got the LeVar Ball. But I mean, if the Eagles are here, Chargers are here. So if the Browns are here, the Bears are here. It's possible. It's possible. I'm telling you, it's the same kind of A to C instead of C to F. I mean, come on, we still got it. Last game.
It's a great one.
I don't think we need to pick it.
Kyle, what's the spread, man? This is a fun one.
The Saints are favored by 1 point in Indy.
Oh man, that's a pick 'em.
Wow. I don't look at the spreads when I do my picks. I just make the picks.
I kind of do both. I kind of make it. It depends on the games, but yeah, 24-21 for me. Saints, I got winning. I don't really have a ton to say in this game. Minshew looked way better than expected against the Browns last week. But usually when he starts the game start to finish, it's not entirely pretty, especially against a good team or a good defensive team, I should say, like the Saints. The Saints, for all their talent on offense, have looked uninspiring. They actually put together a really good drive there at the end of the Jags game. Derek Carr put one right in their tight end's hands at the end of the game there, and he dropped it, leading to, a fourth down conversion that did not happen. So I could see a world, I really could, where the Saints really pick up their offense and maybe get stuff going. We just haven't seen that. So I think this game is going to be more of the same for both teams, which is just a dry, vanilla, boring 24-21 game. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's even like 17-18. But I got the Saints 24-21. Not a confident pick either.
I'll make this really quick. 18-15 Colts. I think Jonathan Taylor's gonna come back, and with Zach Monster Moss and Jonathan Taylor, I think they just run on the. I think it's going to be them against Kamara, and I just favor the Colts duo over Kamara. I don't have analysis on this game. It's boring. I don't care about it.
Fair enough.
I don't care. But I mean, last week a Bears and a Colts game that I thought was going to be low scoring and defensive, it turned into a barn burner. So maybe this is going to be the same. I hope it's the same thing, but I don't really care to talk about it. Timmy, you please go.
I think the Saints defense is going to keep them in this one. It was foreshadowing when you said the spread is only 1 point, because I have the Saints winning 17-16. So it would be a tough line there at 1 point. All I got to say is just let the Saints defense do, and then keep throwing the ball to Alvin Kamara. That's my only hope. Let it keep. It's not like working. Like, he's honestly like an Achilles heel for this team, because like Derek Carr has open receivers, but he just checks it down. I'm liking the fantasy output.
He's doing what Big Ben did with Najee year one, and what Drew Brees did with Kamara late. 1-2 check down. Yep. Its first option's not there. The second option doesn't seem to come open. I don't have the arm to fit it anywhere. Putting it. Kamara, grab it. Najee, grab it.
Let me ask you guys, what's the Monday morning headline? coming out of Sunday's games?
Well, with what I have, it would be are the Bengals back, or the Bengals are back, because obviously with them beating the 49ers, and then in turn it would be what's wrong with the 49ers, or did we overlook them? That would be off of that, but my fun headline is going to be, is Zach Wilson a good quarterback? That's my fun one.
Answer is no to that, but I feel like are the Bengals back has been picked like 3 different times this season, like in the first half of the season already. I guess
for me it was I chose it. I figured after the other one I thought the Bengals would be fine, but yeah, mine real. I think the Jets. I think is Zach Wilson a viable option? Can the Jets get to the playoffs with Zach Wilson? Is what questions are going to be, because he's going to look decent.
if the Ravens hold serve like I have and they win, I feel like, people talking about, are the Ravens the AFC favorite? That could be a thing, or favorite to challenge the Chiefs even. The fun one for me would be, we talked about if the Cowboys lose, that could absolutely be an entertaining Monday morning, like, first take, and, pick a debate show. Would love that one. If the Cowboys lose, are the Cowboys in trouble? Is Dak the quarterback for this team? Pick a block debate show headline for that one if they lose.
Is Mike McCarthy should Mike McCarthy be fired now?
Can Micah play quarterback?
Is Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones the?
And by the way,
problem?
if they do lose, you can almost book that they'll like throw the house for Derrick Henry or something like that, like overpay for him.
Jones will throw a first at Tennessee. Just be like, hey, we want him.
We'll try.
Of course, he would do it. And then since Titans would be like, absolutely.
Jerry Jones seems to love famous football players. That's why I think it would be like Derrick Henry before any other running back. So maybe he'll try to like lure Reggie Bush out of retirement if they lose on Sunday.
Get Jamal Lewis. Timmy, what's your Monday morning headline?
I think we're going to see the first NFL coach get fired Monday morning. It'll probably be Tuesday, because it always happens on like a Tuesday. But we're going to see somebody, Brandon Staley, could be McDaniels. Somebody's gone. It's too late.
Oh man, it's also CJ Stroud's the truth. You'll have some CJ Stroud, because it'll be CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. I don't know exactly how it will be, but it'll be like, did the Panthers make a grave mistake taking Bryce Young over CJ Stroud? Will be like your B block question, especially if Stroud looks really good. But all right, any lasting points? Any cool anything? Obviously, we got the game on right now. Basketball wise, we've got Bucks and we've got the Sixers. That game right now is 57-44 Bucks going into almost halftime, and then the Bills are up 3-0. Not that at this moment when people are watching this they care about these games, but it gives us a nice timestamp of where we are in life. But Warner Brothas podcast, you can catch us on Live Take. Warner Brothas podcast, Kyle's Castro. I'm just Keenan Warner. I'm boring. You can catch us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Warner Brothas podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere, everywhere, Warner Brothas with a THAS podcast. And thank you, Timmy, as always. Kyle, great work as always, and we're out.